Bugcrowd's crowdsourced security testing. The problem that we're solving is that there's more people attacking companies and their applications that they've got online than there are people available to defend them. So what we do is we have a crowd of researchers, it's about 10,500 at the moment, a platform to manage the process, and obviously we do the payments and the incentives and games and all these fun things to get really the best result for the customer, which is that they find their vulnerabilities before the people that are attacking them for real find them and do bad things. The majority of the organisations we're engaging with now are actually tech B2B companies, so Twilio, Heroku is another, as well as some financial services and telco, like more regular enterprise type customers that are looking at this idea and saying, that makes sense, I want to do it.
We were actually running a small consulting business and we were building out the technical side of people's startups for them. It was a really good opportunity because we essentially got to start a whole bunch of startups in a very short amount of time. It was really nice to see the different approaches that people would take and then getting it in the market and then being able to adapt and take feedback from customers without having to actually have had the original idea ourselves. The best thing about StartMate was actually failing. You learn very quickly, regardless of how successful you may have been in startup businesses before StartMate, is that they will essentially push you to the edge of what you can possibly do. It's great because you have the mentors who are available to help you with that. But what's even more surprising and amazing is that the other teams that you're in there with, they'll be the best, they'll be your mentors for life now. And I think that was the best thing, is being there and failing and then seeing all the other teams propping each other up with the support of the mentors is just you can't even explain it. You need to just do it.
It's a roller coaster. You're learning a bunch of stuff. It's emotionally all over the shop. There's all of these different things going on, and having people that are going through the same experience and being able to share that is I found that really valuable, and I think there's a lot of others in the cohort that would say the same thing.
Worst was being away from family and friends. It was really tough. Anyone who thinks they can just go to StartMate and just breeze through, it's hard. It is hard, and it's hard for a reason. Doing 15-hour days, 15-hour days in the office and then coming back and doing another 10 at home. And I know that doesn't add up, and that's how it feels. And then not having your loved ones nearby, it's tough. 3 months of that is going to break you if you can't handle it.
It's called an accelerator for a reason. It's all of these things that you go through in the MVP kind of proving stage of a startup, compressed into 4 months and with a deadline on the end of it. So the pressure is pretty intense.
I really think that is the toughest thing. It's you're there to be broken as far as, if you can't cut it through 3 months of this, it gets harder after StartMate. So, you got to be able to do this. And they really, StartMate takes the best in Australia and brings them up and prepares them for what this is going to be like if you're really going to succeed. Our funding round was quite interesting. We basically got here to the States and we had great success in Australia, and that's really good. But what we quickly learned is that when we started pitching is that we weren't pitching Americans. We were pitching the way we were speaking in Australia, and so what we found was we basically had to reinvent our pitch. You have to aim really high. And once we actually started pitching, hey, this is where we'll be in the next 5 years, it really people just really woke up. And in the end, all the offers came in at the end, and then it was oh, we're actually running out of room here, so we were quite lucky in that regard.
A week after I got here, I went to a meetup group on startup security. One of the guys that was presenting was Joe Sullivan, who's the CSO of Facebook. I walked up to him afterwards, I'm like, hey, here's what we're doing. And he's like, oh, I've heard of you, which was awesome to start with. And we got to chatting for a bit, and I said, I'd love to keep talking. He said, hey, how about you just come down to Facebook on Wednesday and we'll have lunch in the cafeteria. And the thing that's good about San Francisco is I tell that story to people that are from here and they look at me yeah, so no big deal. But I'd have flown from Sydney to San Francisco to have that meeting in the cafeteria of Facebook.
So one of the difficult things is the fact that there are so many other people starting up businesses that are not necessarily the same, but very similar, and particularly if you're not pitching it right, like people are, oh, so you're kind of like this. It's like, well, no, not really. Like, you have to make sure that, particularly when you get to the States, you have to make sure that you're very clear. And given that there's so many people out there, it is hard to like be able to step out and show people that you're different and that what you're doing is better than other things, and also that you're going to be the person to actually bring it to the market.
Yeah, I still keep in touch with a bunch of the other teams. A couple in particular. I think when you go through a cohort together, you know, there's like, you make friends with everyone, but then you make like real, like lifetime friends with a few of them. And those guys I've definitely stayed in touch with.
There's a joke when you go through StartMate, everyone could try and essentially pitch each other's business. And it's so true. The teams that you go through StartMate with are the ones that know you the best, and they'll always be the people that you can count on to be able to bounce ideas off.
All of the mentors were helpful, but because the environment, like the business environment, the venture capital environment, technology, the market, all these different things move so rapidly, the most relevant advice to a founder is going to be from the one who's done it like most recently. So, you know, I helped out this year. I think I'm signed up to be like an official mentor next year. I very strongly believe in giving back.
You just look at the people who've already been through StartMate. There's an amazing amount of knowledge that's shared amongst the people who are applying, who are mentoring, who've been through already. And this is a network you want to tap. StartMate is the vehicle to actually take your business to the next level.
It's a very, very fast education. And if you're humble enough and self-aware enough to realize that that's something you need to progress your career as an entrepreneur, then apply for StartMate.